and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM with Dylan Denmark. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us to close out the week. What a week it's been. What a month it's been. What a 40-day stretch it has been. Yeah, it's already been 40 days since the Jacksonville Jaguars season came to an end. And in these last 40 days, we have seen quite the change here in Northeast Florida, from personnel to the general feeling among the fan base. And I want to expand on that in one moment. You know, Denmark, we had Mason Taylor, the PBR bull rider, on last night. PBR coming to Jacksonville a week from tomorrow down at the arena. And he did one of the events, one of the world championships he did 4 years ago. He did it with a wired shut jaw that he had injured, but he manned up, right? It's what you got to do sometimes. Got to take a good hard look in the mirror and man up. Well, I kind of had something similar happen to me. My jaw is not wired shut. Some people probably wish it was, but that's not the case tonight. And it's not really a sickness necessarily. But I binged watched Cobra Kai on Netflix last night. And I probably didn't get into bed till about 1 or 2 in the morning, just because I couldn't get enough of Daniel LaRusso and Johnny Lawrence in the last 5 episodes. And I'm hurting, man. I'm hurting. I found out that 1 to 2 a.m. at 41 is drastically different than 1 to 2 a.m. at 30 or 35. So, but you got to do what you got to do in life, man. When the last season of Cobra Kai comes out, you want to watch it before any spoilers hit the airwaves. You sometimes got to stay up till 2 in the morning to see if the Cobra Kai can get it done in the final tournament there. Won't give out any spoilers, but what an incredible show. For a guy like me, mid to late 30s, early to mid 40s, that entire show for the last 6 years has been absolutely sensational. From the original movie, The Karate Kid in 1984, to everything they did. I hope more people, more movies do things like that, because it was an awesome ride for the last 6 or 7 years. And it's over now. Hope you enjoy it if you're watching it. If you have not watched it, trust me, it's definitely worth the viewing. It's definitely worth binge watching up until about 2 a.m. in the morning. But nevertheless, we push on. We persevere. That's what we do here on Hacker After Dark. We're hurt. We're tired. We're not necessarily bleeding, but I'll add that in because it sounds better. But on a Friday night, on February the 14th, a Valentine's Day, I'm here to talk sports with you, the hardworking men and women of Northeast Florida. Never mind the fact I'm leaving for Disney World at 6 a.m. Some might mail it in on a Friday. You binge watch Cobra Kai. You're going to Disney World at 6 a.m. Some would say you're just going to throw in the towel. No sirree. We don't do that here on Hacker After Dark. Are you kidding me? Because there is a ton to get into when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and that's what we're going to do. JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com, joins me in less than 15 minutes as we will talk about everything that has transpired over the last 40 days. I want to talk to JP about the feeling inside the building. He's inside the Miller Electric Center every day. What is the difference now between, say, the end of the regular season? I'm curious about that. So JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com, less than 15 minutes. Also, Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch. We're going to take a deep dive into the Jaguar roster. We're also going to take a deep dive into the NFL draft. The Jaguars with 10 picks overall, 6 in the top 125, and, of course, the 5th overall selection. So we'll do a lot of roster talk, a lot of NFL draft talk with Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch. That comes up in about 35 minutes or so. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Dylan Denmark. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal?
No, because it is a big deal.
on Hacker After Dark.
There's actually a couple of big deals of the night I want to dive into. Number one, and the one at the top of the list, I talked about the general feeling about the Jacksonville Jaguars. You know, going out and about, grocery store, you know, neighborhood, my son's school, just public type places over the last couple of weeks. And when you compare that to what it was for a majority of the Jaguar season, boy, around the Thanksgiving mark, certainly the Christmas mark, man, every question I was getting from friends, family, friends of my family, my personal friends, Forest School over there at CCA and all points in between, man, this team sucks, Hacker. What are they going to do? They got to do something. Doug Peterson this and Trent Baalke that and yada, yada, yada. And what am I going to say? I mean, yeah, they're terrible. You're exactly right. Trust me, I know they are. I'm the one that has to do the fifth quarter every Sunday. Proudly done so for the last decade, but how easy do you think those shows are to do when they lose every Sunday, week after week after week? Trust me, you're preaching to the choir. I know the team's terrible. And that was not even 2 months ago. This week, my son's school, public type places, it's a much different feel, is it not? You probably have the same situation at your place of work, business, wherever. Now, we have no idea how good this coaching staff's going to be. We don't even know who the general manager is yet. But the overwhelming thought that I'm getting from people regarding the Jaguars here in this community is that it doesn't even really matter because it's different than the status quo. It's different than the nonsense that has been going on here year after year after year. It's a clean slate with Liam Cohen, with an overwhelming majority of the coaching staff, presumably a brand new GM brought in from outside. I still think that's where it ultimately will land. It's different. Now, different can be good or different can be bad. We don't really know, and we won't know until September. We can hope, and that goes to that word again that we always talk about. The hope is the difference will be good in a win-loss record. But regardless of even that, again, that's 7 months down the road. For basically the entirety of the last year and a half, when you brought up the Jacksonville Jaguars to people in public venues, what was there to be positive about? They've lost 18 of their last 23 games. You had a guy as the general manager that, fair or not, people just did not like. You had a head coach that, fair or not, people in this community just did not like. You had an offensive coordinator that people definitely didn't like, and you had a defensive coordinator last year that couldn't seem to get out of his own way. It was bad, man. The vibes were bad. And now here we are, 40 days into the offseason. The roster is still the same. Nothing has happened with the roster. But the coaching staff is different. People are gone. People have come in. And the overwhelming vibe I get is positivity because it's not the status quo anymore. Just feels good to talk about the Jaguars again out with your buddies, right? Unknowing what could happen in September and October. Heck, it could be more of the same. We could be sitting here in late September and the team's 0-3, and then the conversation will be drastically different. But for the here and now on Valentine's Day in 2025, I just think the vibe about this team in this city, at least in the circles I travel in, vastly different, vastly more positive than what it was just 40 short days ago. And hopefully that continues. We'll see what happens with the GM hire. That's the next big domino to fall. Then to the combine in Indianapolis. And do you realize we are 24 days away? 3 weeks from Monday until free agency begins. How about that? It gets here very, very quick. Another big deal of the night takes us to Gainesville. How about this Micah Hanlockton story? The starting center for the Gators last year, good player, has a gruesome injury in the SEC tournament, breaks his leg on the court, obviously misses the rest of the year, has missed all of this season, was going to take a medical red shirt, was surprisingly cleared to play a couple of weeks ago. And now, due to some injuries in the front court for the Gators, Micah Hanlockton announced today that he's going to say bye-bye to that medical red shirt. He's taking one for the team, and he's going to rejoin the club and get on the court and play beginning tomorrow. What a team guy Micah Hanlockton is. He's cost himself 2/3 of a year of eligibility with that injury. If he did not play this year, he would get this year of eligibility back, but he is choosing to play with only 7 games to go in the regular season. What do you figure? 7 games to go in the regular season, couple of games in the SEC tournament, and hopefully a deep run in the NCAA tournament, but an absolute max, a max. Micah Hanlockton's going to play 17 games. And that's if they go all the way to the SEC tournament final and all the way to the NCAA tournament final. More realistically, you're probably talking 12, 13 games. But he's sacrificing almost a year of eligibility because he knows because of injury, his team kind of needs him right now, right? No Alex Condon tomorrow, no Sam Alexis tomorrow. So, in comes Micah Hanlockton. First time in 11 months that he's going to play basketball. Talk about taking one for the team, the ultimate team player. Bye-bye medical red shirt. Back in comes your starting center from last year. I'll tell you this, when Condon gets healthy in a couple of weeks, Alexis too, with Chinyalu, with Thomas Howell, you got 5 legit bigs on that Gator roster. 5 bigs for this stretch run. That's good. Needless to say, that's really, really good. Don't really even worry about foul trouble, right? You got 5 guys that are 6'8" or taller that all can play if the team is healthy and with Hanlockton back in the fold. So I thought that was a great gesture by Hanlockton, terrific teammate, doing that for his team beginning tomorrow. And then the Daytona 500 is Sunday. Yeah, I bet I'm catching you some of you off guard with that, but no, it is. Daytona 500 is on Sunday, the great American race. Duels were last night, so it's a good weekend. Good college basketball weekend. NASCAR, Super Bowl of Racing, comes up Sunday. GM search for the Jaguars will continue. And the Combine, less than 2 weeks away. We're going to do a lot of Jaguar talk tonight. We're with you till 10 o'clock. Coming up next, my buddy JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com. You also hear him on Jaguars Radio. JP has sat down for one-on-one interviews with both Liam Cohen and Anthony Campanile on Jaguars.com. We'll talk to JP about everything that's gone on in the last 40 days, get his thoughts on how the GM search is going so far. Jaguar Talk, JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com, comes up next on a Friday evening in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us right here on Hacker After Dark. It's 1010XL, and it's 92.5 FM.
Open it, please. What's the code?
1010XL. 1010XL, Jacksonville Sports Radio.
Awaken 180 weight loss. Awaken 180 weight loss. We're getting ever so much closer to my 1-year anniversary. It was February 20th, 2024, when I stepped on that scale, and I couldn't believe it, man. I weighed 317 pounds. Was shocked. I knew I was heavy. I knew I needed a change. I had no idea it was that bad, though. No idea. In the first week on Awaken 180, I was down 20 pounds, man. I went from 317 to 297 in 1 week. And now here we are almost a year later. I'm down over 115 pounds thanks to the best weight loss program I've ever been on. Results speak for themselves, guys. I could sit here and say anything. Or you just simply look at me last year and look at me right now. That's Awaken 180. It was time for you to lose weight like it was for me. Do what I did. Go to awaken180weightloss.com and start changing your life with Awaken 180 Weight Loss.
You'll always feel good when you send someone a Kuhn Flowers floral or plant arrangement. This is Max Fink with 1010XL, and no matter what the reason, Kuhn Flowers has always come through for me. Order online at kuhnflowers.com.
Hey folks, Rick Ballou here from the Blue Crab Crab House. February means the Mardi Gras menu returns to the Blue Crab Crab House. Gumbo, shrimp Orleans, black and red fish, appetizers, dessert, and more. This includes, of course, their regular menu where you get crabs from the Alaskan waters, the Canadian waters, the Southern Georgia waters. It's only at the Blue Crab Crab House. Doors open at 4:30, San Jose, and, of course, Jewington Creek Road.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror? Fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at Dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
Rick Ballou for Carlson Dental. You know, I've been telling you this for quite some time because it's true. I hate going to the dentist, or at least I used to hate going to the dentist. I had total anxiety, and then I tried sedation, light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation as well for cavities and root canals. Folks, it's an incredible experience. So don't be nervous. Don't be scared. Go to CarlsonDentalGroup.com. That's CarlsonDentalGroup.com for all of your dental needs.
Share your voice anytime on the 1010XL text line.
Are you serious?
Installed by Lifetime Flooring.
I gotta say, you're totally blowing my mind right now.
If you can't call or email, text us 641-1010.
How many schools are there in the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, and the Pac-12?
When you file a claim with Southern Oak Insurance, we schedule one of our trusted vendors to work directly with you, which means a faster claim resolution. Find out more at southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours, Southern Oak Insurance.
There are 16 teams in the Big 12, 18 in the Big 10, 16 in the SEC, but only 2 teams remain in the Pac-12.
Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminix it. At Terminix, we know how to stop termites. These destructive pests have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so do we. And their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem? Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
Visit Monahan Jewelers now through Valentine's Day for savings on all GIA certified diamonds and discounts store-wide up to 40% off and interest-free financing on all purchases. Certified diamonds, gemstones, engagement rings, diamond studs, designer brands. Monahan's has it all. We're not a chain store. We're your local family jeweler since 1977 with a world-class inventory of fine jewelry and diamonds and gemstones available in any size. Support your local family jeweler now through Valentine's with huge savings on our inventory. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Mia here. Since 1982, Closets by Design has specialized in creating dream spaces for every budget. My designer, Frances, made the process so easy. She came to my house and designed a beautiful walk-in closet that's already so incredibly functional for me and old Beau Valentine. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation at 1-800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com. And take advantage of extended savings this month. Get 40% off and another 15% off with 18-month special financing.
Hi, I'm Mac with Baker Glass. Are you tired of wrestling with your old shower curtain? Then say goodbye to the curtain chaos and hello to a new frameless shower enclosure. Wago Glass is clear, classy, and won't stick to you like a toddler at bedtime. Plus, it makes your bathroom look bigger and brighter. Upgrade your shower experience and step into style. Call me at Baker Glass and get ready to love your new glass shower enclosure. Baker Glass, no one treats you better.
Denny
Kenny Thompson here. If you haven't heard, Tyson Sound and Security has a house built right inside their showroom, showcasing complete home automation and security systems. You have to see it to believe it. This setup can recognize intruders who approach your door and alerts them to leave if there's a break-in. Keep your family safe with the most state-of-the-art technology. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming Island.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
If you're cooking for your sweetheart this weekend, Southern Steer Butcher has you covered. An easy-choose Valentine's Day special menu with the best meats in town. Full V-Day flyer at southernsteer.com.
For tasty tips and juicy breasts, choose Southern Steer Butcher.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Well, to say the last 4 weeks have been interesting for the Jacksonville Jaguars would be an understatement. Seemingly news every single day, a brand new head coach, a brand new staff, a general manager soon to come as well, and a guy that's kind of been in the middle of all of it. In fact, done some interviews with some of the new guys in town is my buddy JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com. You also hear him on Jaguars Radio, and JP's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. JP, how we doing?
Doing well, Hacker. Yeah, it is a new era of Jaguars football, a lot going on, and I think you hit it right on the head. It seems like there's something every single day, and something positive every single day, and that's a good change.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And there's a lot that I want to dive into with you, but just a mile-high view as we start here. Boy, the last 4 weeks have been wild, man. What have you made of the people that are no longer here, the people that have arrived? It's been quite the roller coaster.
Yeah, it has. And, it started obviously with the firing of Doug Peterson, and then the Trent Baalke sticking around, which was fairly interesting, right? I mean, and then a week later, he wasn't around anymore after the first wave of interviews, and the way Liam Cohen came back into the picture and everything that happened there, the aftermath of that, seemed to kind of go away pretty quickly, I think. And then Cohen went right to work and got his staff together fast, and they're all in the building now and getting work done. And now it's on to the GM search, and it seems like that's going to go fairly quickly here as well. I could see that by mid to late next week, having somebody in place before the group heads up to the combine. So it's been a whirlwind, really. I mean, I think there was some concern that, okay, boy, this is taking a little bit long. You kind of hear that around from some folks, but I don't think that was really an issue at all. As long as they get the right people in there to work together and pull the rope the right way, I think it's all going to be fine. And so far, so good. And the energy in the building's real. I mean, it feels like a new era and kind of a new attitude. And, and obviously a lot of that too, we left out the Baselli part of that. I mean, that's a huge piece of what, I think we're going to find out pretty quick. What does it mean to be a Jaguar? And I don't know if there was a real definition of what that was in the past. What is the culture of the building? Who are we? And I think there's going to be some clear answers to that, especially with Baselli involved in the decision making.
JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com and Jaguars Radio with us here on 1010XL. And you just alluded to that, but I think the fan base listening tonight, JP, they're interested in that because you are in that building every single day. You've been in that building in the bad times, and now you're in the building with this new era, if you will. And you say that you can sense a different feel in there?
Yeah, it feels that. I mean, it's youthful, right, first of all. And that means, as Yudinsky said the other day, it's not young. I think it's just energetic, and excitement. That you can just kind of feel that the way those guys are going about their business and hitting the ground running so far. So that's one thing. The other part of it too is that there was there was a divide, right, between the football building and the business building, and I think that's going to go away. That's part of Baselli's job, basically, is to be that liaison. And what better liaison there is? A guy who's done it at all levels. He's played. He's been part of the front ticket office, the ticket push, and he's done radio and all these things. So I think those days are over where it's split. In an organization like this, everybody's got to be carrying the load on both sides. And I think that's going to be a huge change, and I think we're already seeing it so far.
One of the exciting things about Liam Cohen coming is he's coming off the Sean McVay tree, and we obviously know how successful Kevin O'Connell and Zach Taylor and Matt LaFleur have been off of that tree. But it's something different, JP, that we haven't seen here in over a quarter century. You basically have to go back to Coughlin to find a young offensive mind. Now, Tom had already been a head coach at Boston College, so he had a little more head coaching experience, certainly. But Jack Del Rio and Gus Bradley were young guys on the defensive side of the ball. Mike Mularkey, Doug Marrone, Urban Meyer, and Doug Peterson, offensive minds that were not obviously young offensive minds. So this is the first young, innovative offensive mind the Jaguars have had as a head coach in over a quarter century.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the success around the league has come as of late. It kind of has trended that way. That winning organizations that are, for the most part right now, are young offensive-minded head coaches. So this is the way to do that. And, it's not just Liam. He's obviously the leader of this whole thing, but it's everything around him too, and getting this offense right. And there's no question of who will be calling the plays. We talked about that in the last 2 years, right? It just seemed like an unnecessary conversation. Well, now he cleared that up pretty quick in his opening press conference that he's going to be calling the football plays. So there you go. I like that. And clear communication is key. That's going to be a point. And I think he's going to be the one that's kind of leading the charge on that. And it's a good thing because you're going to have some different ideas on things and strategies and the way you go about business. But there's some of that. But I think we heard a lot, too, from Cohen in his opener. Hey, the way he wants to build the team is a traditional style of doing it. Trenches, offensive, defensive line. And the run game is going to be big, right? They didn't have much of that. So the run game balances out and gives you the opportunity to do some innovative things offensively that you might not have been able to do without it.
You got to sit down with him one-on-one on Jaguars.com. You've obviously been around him more so than any fan that's listening tonight. So, just what kind of guy is Liam Cohen? How would you describe him from that aspect?
Yeah, fast riser, clear communicator, kind of came up the tough way. It's not like he went to some blue blood school. He played quarterback at UMass, right? And then kind of coached in some of those levels of football and earned his stripes that way, And yeah, he was a coach's son in high school. His dad was the coach in high school for him. But so he kind of grew up in the business, but nothing I don't think was really given to him. He had to earn pretty much everything he's had in this business. And I like that part of it. He's figured out and crafted what he wants to be as a coach. And now he's getting his opportunity to do that. And, he's a family guy, 2 young kids, wife, they're coming soon to Jacksonville. He's locked into all that. I think he's truly excited to be in a place like Jacksonville where he can kind of settle down some roots. He's been moving around a lot the last few years. There comes a point, he's in his late 30s now with the young kids and the family that, okay, it is good to settle down for a while and not be on the move all the time. So I think it's all real. I don't think there's much fake in Liam Cohen. So I'm excited to be around him.
Couple of more for JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com and Jaguars Radio with us here on 1010XL. Same thing with Anthony Campanile. You got to sit down with him for a one-on-one on Jaguars.com. And I learned my lesson last year about getting over-the-top excited about a coordinator. And this is nothing against Campanile, but obviously a year ago when Ryan Nielsen came in, we thought that was the greatest thing on planet Earth, and it turned out to be a borderline disaster. So I'm tempering my expectations a little bit. But the one thing I will say about Campanile, and again, you have a much better perspective because you've been around him a lot more, boy, he seems like a guy's guy, man. I think he's going to fit into this fan base pretty well.
Yeah, it's fun to listen to him and hear his energy and excitement for what defense is supposed to be. And, you know, he's as Jersey as it gets, which is fun, too. That's a totally different dynamic. Another guy who came up in a family of football coaches, right? So, and had to earn everything the tough way with brothers and a dad who was a coach, and you know, nothing given to this guy. I mean, the same thing. Like, he had to earn it and coach at a bunch of these places that are you know, lower level kind of places, right? But you still have the ability to go learn and what you want to be as a coach and a leader. And if you've seen the videos, I know you have, Hacker, of him down in Miami in front of the team at different times or in the past where he was doing different things. It's a pretty instant energy that he brings to the room, and it's real too. I mean, you know, that first few meetings with his defense are going to be key, and I don't think there's any question at all that he's going to be able to connect and have that room in the palm of his hand, because he's an electric guy. And they're going to play an aggressive style of defense, right? I mean, everybody says that. You know, everybody says attack. You know, last year was the attack hats and all this stuff. There's none of that, right? This feels real. They want to do things a certain way, and don't stay blocked. I love that. You know, get off blocks. That's going to be a number one priority of what is graded on this defense. How everybody gets blocked, but how do you get off the blocks and then fly to the football? I like that part of it. And, you know, he's not going to give you what scheme they're doing and all that. It's going to be multiple. They'll do different things. They haven't quite got to that yet, but I'm excited to get in the nuts and bolts with him too.
JP, as we begin to wrap up, you mentioned the Baselli factor, and you obviously have done radio with Tony for many years. I mean, I used to chase Tony Baselli around in the parking lot to get autographs, and now I've done radio with him for a while as well, which is just an awesome thing, to be honest with you. He did not need this job. He wanted this job, and I think that's an important factor to realize. He could have done a million things and has done a million things since he retired, but he wants to get this organization right. It is important to him, and I think that speaks volumes.
That's huge. Yeah, I mean, it's basically who he is. You know, I mean, his whole professional life, for the most part, or the bulk of it, has been around the Jacksonville Jaguars, and it means something to him. And you're right. I mean, he's had other business going on and things, and it's going well and all that. He doesn't need it, you know, but he wanted to at some point be a piece of this organization more than what he was. I mean, already a very important part of it, but be involved in the process. And this is going to be fun. It really is. And, you know, everybody's kind of just excited to be around that, because they know he's a genuine guy, and it comes from the heart, and that matters when it comes down to decision making like this. So, you know, I still chase him in the parking lot too for autographs. You know, even today. You know, I mean, just wait now. I mean, he's now all of a sudden he's an EVP and a Hall of Famer. Oh, geez. I mean, the money he's going to charge for autographs now? Oh, come on. Give me a break, Hacker.
It'll be astronomical, no doubt about that. All right, leave us with this. The GM search currently ongoing. Boy, at a rapid pace, right? I think I counted 7 or 8 interviews in the last 2.5 days. We know more were scheduled today. We'll see what happens this weekend. But you think mid to late next week is when we'll have some clarity on that?
Yeah, it kind of feels that way, because there's a couple names that are circling back around again. So that tells me they're getting into the second level of things here. So, and you heard Shad Khan said that, you know, the league would like him to have it done by the end of February. So that would be the, you know, end of combine week, basically, or actually the start of testing, but the end of the media week at the combine. So I think they'd want to put it to bed before anybody even goes up there, and then kind of get him on the ground here for a few days and then head up to Indy and get some work done up there. So that's my guess on it. That's my feel on it. And I could see it, fairly soon. If not middle of the week, sometime middle of the week, late next week, kind of just feels right to me.
JP, the combine on the horizon, free agency on the horizon. What do you guys have coming up, Jaguars.com, in the coming days and weeks?
We got it all, man. We're going to be in Indy, and we'll be there following the new leadership around and hearing what they have to say for the first time on the national stage with the Jags. So that'll be fun. So that's coming up in a couple of weeks. Just building up until then. We got our regular show schedules back. So Jags AM Tuesday mornings. We got the Huddle Up podcast each Wednesday with Bucky Brooks. And then Thursday is Happy Hour Radio in the afternoon with Jeff Lageman and I each and every Thursday. So we'll have all those in Indy as well in 2 weeks. And then all of a sudden we're closing in on free agency not long after that. So the calendar never stops in the NFL.
JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com and Jaguars Radio. JP, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time, buddy. We'll talk again soon.
No doubt, man. Thank you.
This just in on Hacker After Dark.
Always appreciate our guy JP Shadrick, Jaguars.com and Jaguars Radio. Speaking of the Jaguars, 5 minutes ago, the Jaguars put this out on their social media platforms. We have completed an interview with Champ Kelly. And Champ Kelly, for those of you that don't know, is the assistant GM in Las Vegas. A completed an interview with Champ Kelly for our GM position. This concludes our virtual interviews, and we will begin in-person interviews next week. Translation, the first round of interviews is over, and anybody that gets brought back for a second in-person interview, you should probably consider a finalist. And I'm sure those names will begin seeping out maybe as early as tomorrow or certainly on Sunday. Again, I love the transparency of the Jaguars. They let us know whenever the interview's done, and they even went above and beyond tonight saying, this is it. This is the last virtual interview. We will start now doing in-person interviews next week. So again, Champ Kelly of Las Vegas, the last known interview that was conducted moments ago, that puts the number right around 10. And we'll see how many of those are brought now into Jacksonville for in-person interviews for what you would assume would be the finalists that get those in-person shots at the Jacksonville Jaguars. More on that as the night goes on. We also will do a lot on the Jaguar roster and on the NFL draft. That comes up next. Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch. Love talking with Cody because not only is he just immersed in every roster in the NFL, the guy works for a place called Roster Watch, obviously. So he's going to break down everything when it comes to the Jaguars, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, that standpoint. But he's also one of my draft guys as well and has been for a long, long time. So we'll talk about the draft, particularly that number 5 overall selection in round number 1. Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch joins me next on a Friday night in Northeast Florida with Dylan Denmark, the Hacker Ryan Green with you. Jacksonville, we're thankful you're closing out the week with us right here on Hacker After Dark, 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Another season of NASCAR play-by-play starts Sunday.
5 minutes in the Daytona 500.
Tightened up by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234 and Maxie's Mechanics.
Winning the Daytona 500
on your NASCAR station, 1010XL.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal, what's the matter?
I don't know about this air conditioner, Jason.
You know, my job is actually to...
I mean, 1 minute it's working, and the next minute it's not working. Every time I leave the house, I don't know if I'm coming back to a nice, cool oasis or a steaming cesspool of sweaty garbage fumes and dog farts, and then I'll never get to sleep. And I'll be too late to call someone. And what if I've got a big meeting the next morning and I haven't slept a wink?
Okay, dude. Stay cool. Or at least stay cooler.
But
Bueller Air and Plumbing can figure out why your AC only works sometimes and not all the time. We fix that kind of stuff every day.
You mean you can...
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend all your time worrying about an air conditioner that can totally be fixed, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Find Florida Gators basketball on 1010XL. Brought to you by Renewal by Anderson, the official window and door replacement partner of the Florida Gators. And by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
Here's your 1010XL First Coast Community Calendar.
If you'd like to spend your spring and summer at the ballpark, plan to attend the Jumbo Shrimps Job Fair February 19th at the ViStar Ballpark. You can learn about the positions offered at jackshrimp.com.
The NFL Alumni Charity Golf Tournament is February 21st at St. John's Golf and Country Club. To learn how you can play or volunteer, log on to NFLalumni.org.
Veterans, first responders, and law enforcement officers deserve the best treatment. That's why ETMS Florida provides a free, drug-free electromagnetic treatment that helps lower symptoms of PTSD, anxiety, insomnia, and depression. Learn more at etmsflorida.com.
The Tom Coughlin J Fund helps families battling childhood cancer, and there are ways you can help. Go to tcjfund.org.
You can find out how to share your community event at 1010XL.com. Mia O'Brien
is going to be the first woman president of the United States of America.
Catch me weekdays from noon to 2 on Helmets and Heels.
And she could run later this year even, and I would vote for her.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota on 1010XL.
Hey folks, Mike Dempsey here for Pella Windows and Doors. Look, it's kind of cooling down right now. I love opening my windows up this time of year. If you're looking to upgrade your windows in your home, I want you to visit the Pella showroom on Phillips Highway. Ask about their latest hurricane and impact-resistant windows and doors, rated #1 by Consumer Reports in all 3 main window categories. You want quality, style, and protection? Visit PellaJacks.com and the showroom on Phillips Highway just north of Bay Meadows. That's Pella Windows and Doors online at PellaJacks.com.
Listen up, Guggens Hicken here, still talking skin. This time I want to give you some great advice for Valentine's Day. Look, don't buy anything that either dies or adds pounds. Go see the girls at Beaches Dermatology and get a gift card or even a specific skin treatment, one that will enhance her beauty, maybe even help her look like she did when y'all first met. It's possible. Skin treatment is very important, and a gift from Beaches Dermatology makes a perfect gift this Valentine's Day. For locations, go to beachesdermatology.com.
At the First Coast YMCA, you'll find much more than just a gym. We offer many ways to help you be active, reach weight loss goals, and find your inner strength while you connect with your community. Family memberships at the Y include unlimited group exercise classes, childcare while you work out, and youth sports participation. It's easy to join the Y and affordable for all. Plus, the Y is a great place to meet a new circle of friends. Visit the Y near you or online at fcymca.org.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, your home for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we are glad you are with us. Boy, it's been an unbelievably busy month here in Jacksonville with the head coaching search going on, the GM search still currently going on. And look, you look at that calendar, man, the combine is less than 2 weeks away, free agency less than a month away, as the NFL offseason is really picking up a lot of steam. Let's talk about all of it with Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch. He's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Cody, how you doing, man?
Doing pretty good, man. I appreciate you having me on. It feels like just yesterday that I saw you walking around the sidelines of Jaguars camp down there in Jacksonville. So I'm happy to be back on. It's off season. It's draft season. You know, this is the NFL. It's 365 days a year.
Yeah, Cody, we always appreciate it. Yeah, you were down here at the Miller Electric Center last year for camp. And, boy, at that point, there was a lot of hope and optimism for the Jaguars, and that seemingly got crushed and destroyed in September last year. But amidst the horrible 2024 campaign, Cody, obviously the shining light was Brian Thomas Jr., man. I think we thought he was going to be pretty good. I'm not sure how many people thought he was going to do that in his rookie season.
Yeah, my expectation, I mean, after leaving that day down there was, all right, well, they're going to give this kid opportunity. They're going to give him opportunity on deep shots. I remember vividly that day, 3 or 4, maybe 5 attempts from Trevor and 1 or 2 from Mac, pushing the ball downfield to Brian Thomas. And, we knew Brian Thomas could do that coming out of LSU. He led the country in touchdowns. I think he had 17 that last year at LSU. But as far as the complete route package, he showed a little more this year than I expected. Of course, making the Pro Bowl and solidifying himself as the alpha, so to speak, in that offense, and likely the number 1 going forward, I would say. So, yeah, he surpassed a lot of expectations. I think as a team overall, I guess most let down by the backfield, and Brian Thomas, like you said, was the shining piece of that offense to me.
Yeah, and look, Doug Peterson lost his job. Trent Baalke lost his job. A lot of change here in Jacksonville. Again, Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch with us here on 1010XL. All right, Cody, Liam Cohen. We know what he did with Baker Mayfield in Tampa. He's obviously part of that Sean McVay coaching tree from his time with the Rams. Your reaction to Jacksonville bringing in Liam Cohen as their next head coach?
I think it's the right move. I think, dating back to Cohen's days with the Rams at Kentucky, when he was with the Rams, early on it was with Jared Goff, and he was a part of the team that went to the Super Bowl and lost to the New England Patriots. He was the receivers coach that year, and growing under McVay and growing into what he was before he goes to the Kentucky Wildcats. And that Kentucky team averaged 20 points a game the year before he got there. When he got there, they averaged 32. Then he leaves for a year. They averaged 20. He comes back, they averaged 29. He kind of got Will Levis drafted a couple years ago, essentially, right? And then he goes to Tampa Bay, and that offense is a top 5 offense last year, points and yards. He's a proven commodity on offense from a play calling standpoint. Even like Dave Canales last year, of course, gets the head coaching job for the Panthers. That offense was 20th in points and 23rd in yards, and he got the job from Carolina after a quote unquote good to great season as the offensive coordinator in Tampa. And Cohen was top 5 this past year. So I think what he brings is youth, which is of course the direction the NFL seems to be going as of the last 5 or 6 years, kind of under the McVay Shanahan kind of trajectory. And I think it brings life to Jacksonville. I guess my biggest takeaway from the whole thing was I was impressed / proud of a coach being able to, stick to their guns and say, you know what, I'm not going to take this job. At least this is from the outside how I took this was, I'm not going to take this job unless there's a new GM in this thing. And, they as far as the front office goes, down to Cohen, it seems like they're potentially going to be in line going forward.
It's interesting. They had 29-year-old offensive coordinator Grant Udinski, 34-year-old quarterback coach Spencer Whipple. So obviously a youth movement here in Jacksonville. Cody, what is it about the McVay coaching tree? Because that's what we're banking on here. I mean, you look at Zach Taylor in Cincinnati, you look at Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, certainly Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. Other guys that coached with McVay have had unbelievable success at their new locations. We're hoping Liam Cohen is kind of the 4th in that line on that tree. Why have the previous 3 on the offensive side been so successful?
Well, I think you just look at that tree as a whole. Those trees kick back to, the Grudens of the world, Jay and John Gruden, through that Kyle Shanahan through the Kyle Shanahan and McVay tree. They kind of all intertwine and connect, and they all kind of go back to Mike Holmgren. There's some Andy Reid twitch in there. Like it's just offensive play calling, understanding the quarterback position. I think the best person or the best person in media today is John Gruden, and John Gruden is at the heart, I think, of that McVay, that Shanahan tree, and his aggression on offense and attacking the quarterback position, understanding the quarterback position is at an all-time high. And I think you look at Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota, what he did with Sam Darnold this year defines that. What Sean McVay's been able to do with Jared Goff until, of course, Matthew Stafford got there defines that. What Shanahan's been able to do with Brock Purdy defines that. And I think we can all say that as far as overall talent goes, Trevor Lawrence is the most talented quarterback of anything I just named. And I know Sam Darnold was a top 10 pick. And my belief would be that if you just project the progression here, if everything goes right as far as the draft goes and the front office handles things correctly, this Cohen Lawrence thing, I don't want to put the cart before the horse or anything, but it should last for a while. And I like the trajectory it's headed.
Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch with us here on 1010XL. No, Cody, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of potential here. Trevor coming into year 5 in the league. I mean, it's time, and now finally it appears. I mean, Urban Meyer was a disaster. Doug Peterson was a Super Bowl winning coach, but we forgot that, he got fired in Philadelphia for the play calling situation with Press Taylor, and that reared its ugly head here in Jacksonville. And honestly, the Doug Peterson offensive playbook looked like it got a little stale in the last 18 months. Now you got Liam Cohen coming in with some fresh ideas. But you mentioned the front office. And look, we're 2 weeks away from the combine, right? We're 4 weeks away from free agency. And currently right now, the Jaguars are in the midst of GM interviews. They don't have a general manager yet. How much behind the 8 ball does that put Jacksonville as the big dates in the offseason are approaching?
I think as long as they have one before the combine, I think you're in pretty good shape. Generally, the number of courses before the Senior Bowl is really when you want to have a guy so that you have kind of your contingency ready to go down there and scout. But I guess what it does, it puts you behind the 8 ball in the fact that you won't be able to adjust, scouts and the rest of your front office. The GM just kind of has to fly with what he has, at least for this cycle, to finish it out, because you can't really just, wrap everything up and go, all right, we're going to get new scouts in here when there's like 2 months to go before the draft. So putting him behind the 8 ball, I don't know if it does that as much as just maybe puts him in a place he just doesn't feel the most comfortable. But I think you're fine. I wouldn't worry too much because the scouting staff is already in line. They've been scouting. They've been on the ground. They've been doing everything over the course of the last year. So I don't think it really puts you that far behind.
Cody, I want to finish with the draft. Before we get there, though, Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram, both guys that had injury problems in 2024, both very good players when they're healthy. The Jaguars hypothetically could save $17 million against the cap if they were to release both of them. Ingram with a $6 million savings, Kirk roughly in that $10.5 to $11 million savings. What's your thought? Do you believe both guys should return to Jacksonville? Would you be open to releasing one of them? What's your thought there?
Well, I think this has been a thought I've had with Christian Kirk since the trade deadline this past year, when the team kind of saw the direction of where it was heading overall, was why not try to get off of this Christian Kirk deal? When he signed that contract a few years ago, everyone was like, well, that wasn't a great free agency class, and he kind of got the top of the food chain because of it. Maybe not deserving as much, but Kirk's a fine player. But I think you look behind him, I like Parker Washington. I think Parker Washington showed he could play in that role. This receiving class, as people say, it's not great. It actually has some solid depth, especially on the guys that can play inside. Like, even if you head down south, Xavier Restrepo from Miami will be a 5th-round guy that there's value there, right? So I think Christian Kirk's a deal you can get off of. You've seen the tight end position what Brenton Strange can do. Obviously, Luke Farrell's a good inline blocker, and Josiah DeGuire, I think he's a free agent, but he's been, he's been around the league enough to play good ball. Evan Ingram, I guess what I would say with him is, it feels like the last couple of years from outside looking in that Evan Ingram's kind of been the focal point of the offense. And now you have Brian Thomas. And if you really want to lean into potentially ETN and Bigsby, if you think they're going to have a get back this next year, it's like you don't really have the need to have an offense centered around Evan Ingram, which is kind of what the Doug Peterson offense kind of gave you. So I think both guys are definitely expendable, especially with a strong tight end class coming in if you want to spend on a draft pick for that. And I would try to get as much cap as possible to try to, I feel like, Ryan, last year I came on and we're talking about Graham Barton, right? The Graham Barton was what I wanted Jacksonville to do, and go interior offensive line or interior defensive line. And of course they go Brian Thomas, which hindsight, was a fine pick, obviously, but they still need that offensive line help from my point of view. And they still need that defensive line help from my point of view. And now you add in the cornerback situation.
Final moments, Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch. Cody, one thing Trent Baalke did leave the Jaguars with was some pretty good draft assets, right? With that trade back to get Brian Thomas last year, they acquired a 3rd and a 4th in the 25 draft from Minnesota. So the Jaguars have 10 picks overall, and they have 6 picks in the top 125, which is pretty good, including obviously the 5th overall selection. As far as your top 5, we're still early in the process, but we want to see quarterbacks go in the top 4. Any quarterback that goes in the top 4 would be good for the Jaguars. That would push people down the board. We've certainly been hearing a lot about Mason Graham here in Jacksonville, the big interior defensive lineman from Michigan. What is your thought about the top 5 in general and what you think Jacksonville may do up there?
As far as the top 5 goes, I think you have a good grasp on at least 3 of those guys. One being Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State, is all but locked inside that top 5. Cam Ward feels like whether it's Tennessee or the Giants, Cam Ward's probably going to be in that top 5 as well. A lot of conversation around, of course, Mason Graham, like you brought up a second ago, the defensive tackle from Michigan, who belongs in that top 10 area. He's a name that I think Jacksonville should definitely have an eye on. When you look at guys that most mocked to Jacksonville right now, it's Mason Graham and Will Johnson, according to NFL Mock Draft Database. And Will Johnson, of course, is the cornerback from Michigan. Both of those guys, I think, belong in that conversation. Then, of course, you have Travis Hunter, who, to me, he got the distinction as a cornerback for the combine here in a week and a half, but we knew that was going to happen. That's always been his predominant position. It's just the fact that at Colorado had to get him those reps on offense, and he did. And I think at the NFL, you're going to have to do it again. But if he landed in a Jacksonville, to be honest with you, I think it's more ideal for his play style than it is to go to New England, where he can line up, opposite of Tyson Campbell and be an alpha cornerback. And then you don't have to be the number 1 wide receiver. Brian Thomas has that figured out, right? Parker Washington or Christian Kirk, who are in the slot, can have that figured out. And there's not as much of a lean into forcing to play Travis Hunter at the wide receiver position, for 30 to 40 to 50 snaps on offense. It's more towards 10 to 12. So I guess those are all the names kind of centered around that top 5 for me. You could add in a couple more, I guess, bring in Shedeur Sanders. A lot of people are having that conversation. And then, it's kind of a wild card mess after that with the offensive linemen.
Cody, final question. The draft as a whole, and we'll hopefully have you back on at least one more time before the draft in late April, but how would you assess it? Positions of strength, positions of weakness, overall draft class? Is it deep? What's your thought?
Well, I think this class, first and foremost, jumps off the screen to you at defensive line. Going to the Shrine and the Senior Bowl the last couple of weeks, defensive line really popped out. I mean, you go at the Shrine Bowl, there's guys that are, not talked about, like a Jordan Phillips from Maryland, he's a stump, is a guy that's going to play nose tackle for 10 years in the NFL, who's projected to be a 4th-round defensive lineman. I think there's 41 defensive tackles going to the combine this next week, which is 17 more than last year. It's a loaded defensive line group, so that's good. Running back is the other side. Running back is absolutely loaded. You could end up with running back 26 off the board in April, and that guy will make your roster. It's that sickening how deep this running back class is. Tight end is also a good group. We talked about that a minute ago with Evan Ingram. And, Jacksonville doesn't really want to hear this, but quarterback is fine. People have wanted to write this quarterback class off, but, we haven't seen a lot of second-round quarterbacks the last, I guess, decade. And I think this year will be one that a lot more quarterbacks will go in round 2.
Cody, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, about Roster Watch and what they can expect when they head on over to the website.
You come over to rosterwatch.com. We got everything for you from fantasy football to the NFL. We have a year-round show over on SiriusXM that we do on SiriusXM Channel 87. Everything over at rosterwatch.com, though, from props to NFL rookie spotlights. We break down scouting reports on players and all things alike. So we help you 365 days a year, cover the sport of football, cover fantasy football, everything we can do to help you.
He's one of our favorites, Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch. Cody, I know you're busy. Thank you, as always, for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
Thank you, man. I always appreciate it.
Now you can watch 1010XL shows all day on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Brought to you by MyBookie. Experience Vegas from the comfort of your phone anytime, anywhere. Sign up today. Use promo code 1010XL. Dan Hicken.
I saw you on the dance floor. You move pretty good.
Jeff Prosser.
Really just got lucky. I was more in the zone than anything else.
Mornings.
It was the booze dancing.
On 1010XL.
I'm here with
Danny Van Sickle, Director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost are the books and the course fees. About $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 15th.
Love is in the air this February, but nothing kills the mood like a plumbing or HVAC problem. Whether it's a leaky pipe, a backed up septic tank, or your heater isn't keeping things cozy, don't worry. We've got you covered. Call Duck Rooter Plumbing, Septic, and Air Conditioning. Our expert team is here to keep your home running smooth, no matter the issue. When you're stuck, call the Duck, 904-862-6769, or online at duckduckrooter.com.
Need or want cash? Beaches Jewelry and Pawn has cash available. Ready to buy guitars, surfboards, jewelry, firearms, tools, and especially gold. They need it all, selling or pawning. Get cash on the spot at Beaches Jewelry and Pawn in Jacksonville Beach.
The flagship station of the Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Where on your body is the weenus? The answer next.
When you call Southern Oak and file a claim, you'll be handled by our hand-picked vendors who will analyze any roof, storm, or water damage. It'll save money for you.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
The weenus is your elbow skin and can be pinched as hard as you want, and it will never cause pain.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
Lauren Brooks here for Terminix. When pests invade your home or business, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, they'll show up for you and eliminate pests quicker, just like they did at my house, because they care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so does Terminix. Don't live with a pest problem, Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. That's right, Terminix it.
Mia here. Since 1982, Closets by Design has specialized in creating dream spaces for every budget. My designer, Frances, made the process so easy. She came to my house and designed a beautiful walk-in closet that's already so incredibly functional for me and old Beau Valentine. Call today to schedule your free in-home consultation at 1-800-293-3744 or visit closetsbydesign.com. And take advantage of extended savings this month. Get 40% off and another 15% off with 18-month special financing.
I'm Stacy, and I want to tell you about my fogged up window fiasco at my house. I called up Mac at Baker Glass. He told me all I needed was a glass replacement. The process was so easy. All within a few days, they came out, measured, called me with an estimate, cut my glass, and came out to install the new ones. Now my view outside is fog-free thanks to Mac and his crew at Baker Glass. And my neighbors think I got some fancy new windows.
I'm Mac with Baker Glass. No one treats you better.
Denny Thompson here. You got to check out Tyson's Showroom Home Theater with surround sound and comfy theater chairs. You can transform your living room into a cinematic experience. I can stay there to watch all my games. It's that comfortable. Call Tyson today and bring the theater experience home. Tyson Sound and Security, your security, home theater, and home automation experts. New showroom at 3555 U.S. Highway 17 in Fleming, Iowa.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Hey, Hicken here, or just call me Dreamfinders Danny. For a limited time to ring in the new year, Dreamfinders Homes is offering an amazing 4.99% fixed interest rate. Now's your chance to lock down that rate and get in the game. You heard me right. It's 4.99 fixed interest rate on select move-in ready homes. Visit dreamfindershomes.com for sales event information and get in the game. Interest rate available on select move-in ready homes. Restrictions and limitations apply. Go to dreamfindershomes.com for more details.
Okay, for this Cannons of Jacksonville commercial, we need an idea to really come out with a bang.
Like having a guy shot out of a cannon.
Nah, too messy. In fact, Cannons is known for all your towing needs.
So like my car won't start.
No. Towing products. Cannons does custom welding fabrication and installation of trailer hitches, goosenecks, tow bars, truck racks.
So you might say Cannons is my best shot at finding that inventory in stock?
Boom. You said it.
Visit cannonsofjacks.com.
AA Automotive helps keep your vehicle in dependable and safe condition. Call Sam, Harry, or Joe, and they'll check your brakes, tires, fluids, electric, and motor, so your ride runs smooth on the road. That's AA Automotive on Richard Street.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night. Hacker After Dark right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM. Coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, more Jaguar talk, more NFL talk. Justin Barney of Channel 4 joins me in about 30 minutes. Coming up in about the next 15 minutes or so, Dan Puda of the 33rd team will stop by as well as we continue the conversation about the Jacksonville Jaguars, the coaching carousel that has come to an end in the National Football League. The final piece of that was Kellen Moore to New Orleans earlier in the week. And the Jaguars tweeted out 30 minutes or so ago that they have conducted their final virtual interview for their GM spot. That final virtual interview went to Champ Kelly, the assistant GM with the Raiders. And the Jaguars say it was actually 37 minutes ago. This concludes our virtual interviews, and we will begin in-person interviews next week. Now, I've told you guys for since the beginning of this week at least, I feel very confident in saying you give me Ethan Waugh, Ian Cunningham, and James Gladstone, I'll give you the field. I think I'm going to be right. I think it's going to be either Ethan Waugh, Ian Cunningham, or James Gladstone. Having said that, I have heard some good things about a couple of the guys they have interviewed recently. One was today, John Eric Sullivan of Green Bay. That guy's been with the Packer organization for 2 decades. I know Jeremy Fowler mentioned something about him earlier as well. So that's a guy to take note of. He was a finalist for the Tennessee GM job about a month or so ago. And then there are a lot of other guys that are certainly good candidates. Ian Cunningham did interview today. The one guy with the Chargers is another guy to keep an eye on, and Chad Alexander. I actually had Dave Campo talk about him to me because Dave Campo worked with Chad Alexander's dad back in the day, I believe, with the Dallas Cowboys. So there are some very good candidates. They've certainly looked around, I believe, 10 virtual interviews total. They will narrow it down to a finalist list. But again, I still think it's either going to be Ian Cunningham, James Gladstone, or Ethan Waugh when all is said and done. But again, more on the Jaguars coming up in about 10 minutes or so. Dan Puda of the 33rd team, national NFL writer, he joins me then. We mentioned the Daytona 500 comes up on Sunday, the Great American Race. They've actually moved it up an hour. There's expected to be some weather in Daytona on Sunday. So the Daytona 500, I believe, has been moved up an hour from when it was originally scheduled to start. You know, Denmark, we can't elaborate too much on this, but quickly, I talked about this earlier in the week. You're much more of a NASCAR guy than I am. I used to be a big NASCAR guy, and I've just kind of lost touch with the sport a little bit amongst all the changes they've done. But there's no doubt TV viewership has gone way down in the last 10 years. They've gone from roughly 16, 17, 18 million views of the Daytona 500 to in the 6 to 7 to 8 million ballpark. You're talking about over a 50% reduction in the TV audience for that race. And that's probably like that across the board, would be my guess, with a lot of the different races on the calendar. And I guess my question is, it's a simple question, probably with a complex answer. What, if anything, can NASCAR do about that? What can they do to attract the audience back that they have lost over the last 10 to 15 years?
I mean, the only thing that could change it would be to have some kind of star come along and former rivalry. I mean, what made NASCAR great in the 90s was Dale Earnhardt and those rivalries with Jeff Gordon and Rusty and Labonte, and you don't have that anymore. I mean, you have these guys where you don't know who they are, and I mean, they're 19, 20, 21 years old, and they jump straight to one of the best Cup cars, driving for Hendricks or Richard Childress, and, you don't know them until about 5 years after they've, actually raced. Now that's just how it is now. So I think that's the only way. I mean, NASCAR is an individual sport, and you don't know the individuals. It's kind of hard to move the needle. I mean, it's like golf. If you see the leaderboard and you don't know people, it's kind of hard for you to get into it.
It was kind of like the perfect storm, too. They lost a lot of their main guys within very close proximity of one another. Jeff Gordon, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Tony Stewart, right? Obviously, before that, you kind of had the guys like Bill Elliott, Rusty Wallace, Dale Jarrett, Mark Martin, all called it a career. Look, awesome Bill from Dawsonville. My stepdad loved Bill Elliott. I used to be able to talk about the number of the car that guys drive, their sponsor. I mean, I was into it. I do think the star power being gone is one thing. I also think all the changes that they've made, and look, I get it. You got to compete with the NFL, right? Once August and September and certainly October roll around and you have a Sunday race, well, you got to do something because the National Football League is king. But this stage stuff and the way they do their points now and the way they decide their champion, it's confusing. It's very, very confusing. Or maybe if you're immersed in it, it's not confusing, but a casual guy like me, casual at best, guy like me, it just seems to be a confusing system that they do. So that on top of the guys stepping aside, maybe not replacing them with the star caliber that they were, I think a lot of that has played into a factor into why NASCAR has kind of gone down. I'll tell you, during Daytona week back in the day, I used to have one NASCAR guy on my show every day. We would have 5 guests in a week promoting Daytona and previewing the race. I haven't had a Daytona 500 guest in probably 2 or 3 years. Now, maybe that's shame on me, but also you kind of listen to the audience, right? And I'm not exactly getting overrun with Daytona NASCAR text on the text line or people blowing up my social media asking me to talk more Daytona 500. So we'll see what happens. But if that's your thing, that's no issue. I'm happy for you. And the 500 comes up Sunday down at the Daytona International Speedway. Back into the NFL, back into the Jacksonville Jaguars. Dan Puda of the 33rd team. He joins us next on a Friday night here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us. Hacker After Dark till 10 o'clock on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM.
Your home for Florida Gators basketball is 1010XL.
The Gators confront the Gamecocks for combat at O'Connell, Florida, South Carolina. Tomorrow night at 8 on 1010XL.
Hey, Hicken here. I couldn't be any happier than to join the George Moore Chevrolet family. When I say family, I mean it. Visit their beautiful showroom today off Atlantic Boulevard. Find out exactly what I'm talking about. No pressure, just friendly help. And whether you want a car, a truck, SUV, electric, pre-owned, you name it, George Moore Chevrolet has it. And if you can't make it over to Atlantic Boulevard, no problem. MooreChevy.com is easy to navigate as any site you will try. It's never been more easy to use. George Moore Chevrolet. Together, let's drive.
Hey, folks, Rick Ballou here from the Blue Crab Crab House. February means the Mardi Gras menu returns to the Blue Crab Crab House. Gumbo, shrimp Orleans, black and redfish, appetizers, dessert, and more. This includes, of course, their regular menu where you get crabs from the Alaskan waters, the Canadian waters, the Southern Georgia waters. It's only at the Blue Crab Crab House. Doors open at 4:30, San Jose, and, of course, Jewington Creek Road.
Look out, world, we're getting strong. The future's here and we belong. She can STEM, she can do more. Like build a rocket and watch it soar. Or clean the oceans and make the world a better place. Oh, she can STEM, so can you. Find a cure, invent something new. There's no challenge in the world that she can't face. She can STEM.
Learn more at She Can STEM. A message brought to you by the Ad Council.
This is your Mad Dad's Update with Chapter President Donald Ford. In our effort to curb crime, drugs, and violence during the summer months, we are offering Friday Night Lights. It has already started and will be going until school starts back. It is every Friday night from 6:30 to 9:30 at the Blacktop, 5732 Normandy Boulevard, and behind the Potter's House Christian Academy. We manage 3 basketball courts. You are not running on the cement. We have covering on each court. The Lakers, the Magic, and the Heat. Ages 15 to 40 years old. This will give them something to do other than selling drugs and getting into trouble. We have monitors there giving leadership. We have to wake up, stand up, and speak up. Hit me on Facebook and tell me what you think. Or MattDadJacksonville.com.
Learn more about the beautiful game of soccer and its impact on the River City.
What a beautiful thing to behold.
Get an hour of soccer talk on the Sporting Jack Soccer Hour.
That's all I want to know.
Tuesday at 6 p.m. on 1010 a.m.
Cannonball!
Honey, someone's in our pool.
Oh, refreshing.
John, what are you doing?
Oh, hey, Dave. Seeing as how me and the guys at Clearwater Irrigation reinstalled your sprinklers after the pool contractor ripped it out, I thought you wouldn't mind if I took a quick dip.
But in a Jaguar print Speedo?
Yeah, Dave. My bad.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage, too.
Ackerman Urology offers the most advanced options for improving men's health and vitality. Their board-certified urologists treat all prostate disease and sexual health issues. Call their new location at World Golf Village or visit AckermanUrology.com.
For lost or broken keys or nearly any make and model of vehicle, call 722-1111 for
Instant Keys. Instant Keys. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you.
It's game time for your business, and Advanced Business Solutions has the winning play. With Xerox copiers, you'll never miss a deadline. Fast, reliable, and built for high performing, Xerox brings the MVPs of efficiency to your office. Ready to make the winning move? Hire the champions at Advanced Business Solutions. Veteran owned.
Printers, copiers, and IT management. Advanced Business Solutions.
Did you know your pup could take 30,000 to 60,000 steps a day at Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard? That's a whole lot of tail wagging fun with their best furry friends. At Dogtopia, they turn playtime into exercise, learning, and socialization in their off-leash, open play environment. Dogs build confidence, reduce anxiety, and stay happy and healthy, all while having the time of their lives. Visit Dogtopia of Jacksonville Beach Boulevard today.
What's happening, folks? E.T. here, and get out of the house and crush those New Year's resolutions on the beautiful trails of Clay County. With perfect weather, now's the time to explore Jennings State Forest, Mike Rose Gold Head State Park, and Belmore State Forest. And after your hike, refuel at one of Clay's local favorites, like Dalton's Sports Grill or the Corner Pocket. Clay is my home, so I can promise you my people will take care of you. Trust me, just visit exploreclay.com and share those adventures at #ExploreClay.
Hey folks, Nick here for Zero Res, and if you still have a little bit of time for the hottest price of the year on carpet cleaning, maybe you had people over for the game or you're doing early spring cleaning, but in February, only $147 for 3 rooms, plus the 4th room is free. That's right, schedule now and you'll get 3 rooms for $147, and the 4th room is free. Yeah, the 4th room is on me. Hottest price of the year. Zero Res. Spell it forward, spell it backwards. Zero Res. It's the right way to clean.
CEROREZ. Zero Res.
1010XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. The Jacksonville Jaguars introduced both their offensive and defensive coordinators to the media earlier today, as Liam Cohen's coaching staff now is basically filled out. They might add another couple of assistants, but for the most part, the coaching staff is intact. The next big question is who is going to be the general manager, as we are now just 2 weeks away from the NFL scouting combine. There's a lot to review and there's a lot to preview when it comes to the Jaguar offseason. And with that, we welcome in Dan Puda, NFL writer for the 33rd team, and he's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Hey, Dan, we're good, man. Thank you for the time. And all right, you and I haven't spoken in a couple of months. In fact, the last time we talked, there was a lot of hope and optimism here in Jacksonville, and that was crushed and destroyed very quickly in the 2024 regular season. Dan, Doug Peterson's gone. Trent Baalke's gone. What do you think went so wrong for the Jaguars last year?
It was tough. I think it was a lot of things that we hoped would get fixed during the 2024 season just kind of turned into some bigger problems, especially when you look on offense. When Trevor Lawrence was on the field, it was a lot of their passing concepts and things. It made it look like every play was as difficult as possible for Trevor Lawrence, where he had to be perfect on every throw. And it is very hard for any quarterback to be playing like that. So there weren't a lot of very easy options. And I don't think there were a lot of answers. And then some of the other things that we thought would maybe be boosted, like the defense under, Ryan Nielsen last year, and turned into, one of the worst defenses in the league. So I think just kind of everything that went wrong for the Jaguars on the field last year did. And everything, I think, just kind of compounded on top of each other by the end of the season and just made things a lot more difficult than we expected them to be at the beginning of the season.
I certainly want to get into Liam Cohen and the direction the Jaguars are going now. But before we do that, amidst the darkness, quite frankly, of the 2024 Jaguar campaign, the one shining light was obviously Brian Thomas Jr. Forever, Dan, here in Northeast Florida, we've talked about the lack of a, quote, wide receiver one. Well, that conversation has been completely put to bed now, has it not?
Yeah, absolutely. He is exceeded all expectations and probably is even better than he looked during his rookie year, just kind of based on the usage and what this offense was able to do. Again, a lot of things that they were able to do that were on the positive side were, some big plays to him. But I think, in a more structured offense, I think those types of plays that he's able to make, the way he's able to win one-on-one on the outside, he can win on those, two-way goes inside the slot, be a just explosive player anywhere on the field. I think that is only going to compound and grow one, he gets more experience, and two, as this offense gets a little better structure in place where he can be doing some more things in rhythm. So yeah, I think he's a very special player, and I'm very excited to see what that's going to look like going forward.
Dan Puda, the 33rd team, here with us on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, Dan, Liam Cohen. The way the Jaguars landed on Liam Cohen was kind of odd and weird and strange. It was not exactly a flawless search without a stretch of the narrative there. But at the end of the day, it appears that they did get their guy. Let's focus on Liam Cohen. We know what he did last year with Baker Mayfield. What did you think of the hire, and what could that mean for this Jaguar team moving forward?
Yeah, like you said, definitely a roundabout way to get there, but I think they did end up going in a good direction. And I'm hesitant to, be overly optimistic about any head coach who has not done the job before, because it is very different from the jobs that they have done previously. What he has to deal with as a head coach is going to be very different from what he did as an offensive coordinator. But with the Jaguars specifically, because number one priority is making sure that there is something in place for Trevor Lawrence to be the best quarterback he can be, I think that is what you are going to be getting with Liam Cohen. We saw last year with Baker Mayfield, the way Tampa Bay was able to structure their offense, kind of keep Baker Mayfield from some of the ways that he had, made things harder on himself. He used to like to bail from the pocket and kind of make plays out of structure when they didn't need to be made. There was a lot of easy, quick throws for Mayfield. That got him into a better rhythm. He was able to push the ball down the field more. I think we are going to see that translate to Jacksonville. You're going to have one of the best designed screen games in the league, which Tampa Bay did last year. It was something that Jacksonville could not do at all. And those are kind of the things that I'm talking about as an easy button. Trevor Lawrence did not have the ability to throw 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and have it be a positive play. He needed everything to be kind of pushed down the field. So that puts a lot of weight on the quarterback, does a lot of things that makes everything else he has to do in that offense harder. There are going to be a lot more easy buttons where he has easier throws that are going to be positive plays. And I think that's eventually going to open up some things, especially in the intermediate middle of the field, where Trevor Lawrence is a very good thrower. He hasn't really had that available to him a lot in this offense because they just haven't had the right ways to attack it. So I think structurally there are going to be a lot of things in place that'll make things as easy as possible for Trevor Lawrence on some of those, down to downs. And then that's going to open up things for some of the bigger plays that have really been lacking in this Jacksonville offense.
Dan, we've talked about the Sean McVay coaching tree here in Jacksonville for a while now after Liam Cohen was hired. And you look around at whether it's Matt LaFleur in Green Bay, Zach Taylor, Cincinnati, certainly Kevin O'Connell in Minnesota. What is it about that coaching tree that makes those guys so successful? Why should there be optimism for Liam Cohen here in Jacksonville?
So with a lot of things, I think these guys all look at the game in a very adaptable way where it is a, Sean McVay offense, but all of these guys are kind of coming at it in different ways, but coming into these same concepts. And I think it is, a very strong way to kind of look at how the run game meshes with the passing game, how everything should look the same in a sense, and bringing the offense around to, just be one coherent thing instead of just, running some plays, which I think like if you look at someone who is adjacent to that tree and like a Bobby Slowick, I think they just kind of ran some plays in Houston, and it wasn't necessarily a coherent type of offense. So I think there are, ways that they think about how to structure the offense in that way. And then for Cohen specifically, he's been around to a couple of different places. So he is, under that McVay tree, but he does also have a lot of experience in some other things. And when guys have that, I do get a little optimistic of how they've been able to, take some pieces from other offenses that they've been in, combine that with the success that we've seen in kind of the McVay type of philosophy, and be able to kind of create that as their own. I think we saw a lot of that in Tampa Bay last year, and that really made that offense, work to, its best way possible. So I think there is a lot of translatable things that they'll be able to do from what Cohen has brought in from all of his offensive, stops along the way, especially Tampa Bay last year, and bring that to what he's going to place in Jacksonville this year.
A couple more for Dan Puda of the 33rd team covering the National Football League. Dan, you look at the staff that Cohen has assembled. They retain Heath Farwell, the special teams coordinator, at 43 years of age. They bring in Anthony Campanile from Green Bay to be the defensive coordinator, 42 years of age. They bring in Grant Udensky, a 29-year-old offensive coordinator. Spencer Whipple is the quarterback's coach at the ripe old age of 34. A lot of youth on this staff. Well, what's your opinion of the staff Cohen has down here?
Yeah, it's interesting because I think you can go a lot of different ways there. We've seen some, younger head coaches go for some older, more experienced type of either, coordinators or advisors. And I'm sure there is, going to be someone who comes in as some kind of advisor who has some more, head coaching experience to allow him to, kind of be a sounding board for that. But I do think, there, like you said, there is a lot of youth, but it is, I think, a lot of, modern thinking about the game. You see what came over from Green Bay last year. They are doing things a little differently on defense. Grant Udisky, like you said, he's been, he had interviews with like almost every vacant offensive coordinator role this offseason. So I think they are going to get a lot of smart minds in there. So I'm not super concerned about how young these guys are or inexperienced they are, because I think they are all guys who have been looked positively around the league. So that is something where I think they are going to be a very forward-thinking franchise, which is definitely something that I think Jacksonville has lacked for a little bit. So I think if you're going to be on the optimistic side of looking at some of that youth, it is that they are going to try to, bring a little modern piece to the game and have a little more, diversity of thought coming in. I think that should be a good thing.
The last domino to fall will be the general manager. I mean, the bottom line, Dan, they're on the field in Indianapolis doing drills in 2 weeks. Free agency is inside of a month, right? Time is not on the Jaguars' side. You would have to think by the end of next week they'll have a GM in place, but how much behind the eight ball are they? Because it's the middle of February and they still currently don't have a general manager.
Yeah, it seems that a little far behind the eight ball, and not an ideal way to, be heading into the off season the way that they did, while having a general manager, thinking they were going to hold on to him, and then, realizing that was a mistake after they interviewed just about every coach who said they really wouldn't want to be working with that general manager. So I do believe in the long run that is going to be to the benefit of the Jaguars of what they eventually did. But yeah, like you said, there is going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball, but there is a lot of work in that front office that has already been done for the draft. And I think that is, that happens all around the league all the time, where even when the first general manager hired in an offseason cycle, they're still technically behind the 8 ball because everything comes up, so quickly. So there's already been a lot of draft work, done for this team. It's just going to be how this general manager does want to view it. So while they're behind the 8 ball, it's not, a crazy thing where I think they're going to be at a huge disadvantage, because a lot of general managers who are coming in with this cycle, just because of how the NFL calendar works, they need to hit the ground running regardless.
Dan Puda of the 33rd team. Dan, leave us with this. The coaching carousel, obviously Liam Cohen here in Jacksonville, but the other hires, whether it's Ben Johnson in Chicago, Aaron Glenn in New York, of course, Vrabel in New England. We saw Pete Carroll go out to Las Vegas in the last couple of hires, Schottenheimer in Dallas, and then, of course, recently Kellen Moore in New Orleans. I would imagine most fan bases are probably happy, right? Maybe with the exception of the Cowboys, who are probably still scratching their head a little bit.
Yeah, I would say that's true. I think most of these head coaching vacancies were done where there was a good process going into it. And I think, especially with a lot of these first-time head coaches, you can really only go with the process that brought them to the head coach. With Dallas, again, maybe Brian Schottenheimer is a better head coach than he has been an assistant, but the process to which they got there certainly doesn't spark a lot of optimism in how they got to that point. But I think there was very sound, a process from every other team. And again, even the Jaguars in the way they got there was very roundabout, but I do think they ended up in a place that should be a very inspiring place for them to be looking long term.
Dan, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville about the 33rd team and what they can expect when they head on over to the website.
Yeah, we're still rolling. Just because the Super Bowl stopped does not mean we are. I've already done top 100 free agent rankings that are up. We have a lot of smart people covering the draft. I'll eventually get there, but we have a lot of smarter draft people doing that right now. So there is a ton of content there going all the time, tons of videos and plenty of stuff. And any NFL fix you want, it is still going to be there, even though it's the off season.
Dan Puda of the 33rd team. Dan, I know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time. We'll talk again soon, pal.
All right, thanks.
When did you learn the salute? Right over left. Arms locked at the elbow. Till it burned in our joints and in our hearts.
1010XL, home of the Gators.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal, what's the matter?
I don't know about this air conditioner, Jason.
My job is actually to...
1 minute it's working, and the next minute it's not working. And every time I leave the house, I don't know if I'm coming back to a nice, cool oasis or a steaming cesspool of sweaty garbage fumes and dog farts, and then I'll never get to sleep. And I'll be too late to call someone. And what if I've got a big meeting the next morning and I haven't slept a wink?
Okay, dude. Stay cool. Or at least stay cooler.
But
Bueller Air and Plumbing can figure out why your AC only works sometimes and not all the time. We fix that kind of stuff every day.
You mean you can...
Life moves pretty fast. If you spend all your time worrying about an air conditioner that can totally be fixed, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Skilled trade jobs are booming, so begin your high-pay, high-demand career today through the Northeast Florida Builders Association. Their apprenticeship program provides paid training in some of the most highly sought-after skilled trades. Get paid while you train, full-time, in carpentry, electrical, HVAC, or plumbing. Plus, earn a 10% raise every year, and the classes are 100% tuition-free. Start your new career today and apply this week at nefpaapprenticeship.org.
This is Mark Nato.
My son Justin injured his hand playing baseball for JU. Southeast Orthopedic Specialist performed surgery just a few days later, and within 5 weeks, he was cleared to play in the ASUN baseball tournament. Our family has trusted Southeast Orthopedic Specialist for years. For any orthopedic injury, let Southeast Orthopedic Specialist take care of you too.
Relieve pain and get back to life. Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
Chose C for CSS Fireplaces and Outdoor Living. They can transform your backyard with fire pits, pergolas, screen enclosures, and outdoor kitchens. And CSS handles the entire project from start to finish. You dream it, they build it. CSSOutdoor.com.
Dan and Jeff take you down the fairway with the PGA Tour professionals.
Keep an eye on this one.
Crunch with the Tour.
Tour news, tips, and inside info. Brought to you by
Clearwater Irrigation, 8:30 Tuesday morning on 1010XL.
Collisions happen on every play in football. Collisions also happen every day on the road. If you need auto body repair, from a $30 job to a $30,000 job, trust San Jose Collision in Mandarin.
Tired of seeing the signs of aging in the mirror? Fine lines, sun damage, redness? They don't have to be part of your future. I'm Dr. Mark Capel, a board-certified dermatologist, and I can help you look and feel your best without invasive surgery or painful treatments. Imagine rejuvenating your skin in a relaxing, comfortable environment with minimal to no downtime. Smooth out fine lines, even skin tone, and restore that youthful glow. Find out how to look and feel your best at Dermagnify.com. Dermagnify.com.
Hammond, Valentine's Day is coming up. Got any romantic plans?
Dad, I'm married to Clean Air. My plan is to help Jacksonville families breathe easier.
You're helpless, but Clean Air does sound nice. Can duct cleaning really help?
Absolutely. Dust, allergens, even odors can build up in your ducts. Cleaning them now makes your air fresher and healthier for your family. The EPA says better indoor air quality can reduce health risk.
So cleaning ducts are like Valentine's Day gift for the house.
Exactly. Forget chocolates. Fresh air lasts longer and doesn't melt. Plus, we've got a February special, $100 off your total.
All right, sign me up. Maybe fresh air will make Mom fall in love with me again all over.
You'll have to take her to dinner for that, but cleaner air will definitely help.
Fair enough. Jacksonville, if you're ready to show your home some love, Google Zerorez and read over 7,000 five-star reviews. Zerorez.
Spelled forward or backwards, it's the right way to clean.
Cerorez. Zerorez.
When you're experiencing sudden, unexpected dental pain, the last thing you want to hear is that your dentist can't see you until next week. That's why I'm so glad I found Harbor Dental Care. Whenever I call, they always find a way to see me within 24 hours, and they can usually fix whatever's wrong the same day. Plus, they have locations throughout Jacksonville, so no matter what side of town I'm on, I can always count on the same great care. If you want to find a dentist who believes in treating people right, learn more at harbordental.care. That's HARBOUR dental.care.
ET here, and if you've ever been injured in an accident, visit my buddy Dr. McGowan at McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation Center. You have 14 days to see a doctor and protect your insurance benefits, even if you're at fault. And no matter what you hear, you have the right to choose your own doctor. So I recommend McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation. Their auto experts will guide you in every step of the way to ensure the care that you need. Your recovery starts with McGowan Spinal Rehabilitation.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
Back here on 1010XL at 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Jacksonville Jaguars. Boy, news has been coming out pretty much every day for the last 3 or 4 weeks from a new head coach, the current search for a new GM, a new EVP of football operations, a brand new contract for Mark Lamping, the team president, and an old face, one of the best high school players that's ever played here in Jacksonville, former Florida State Seminole Edgar Bennett, now back in town on Liam Cohen's staff. Let's talk about all of it with Justin Barney of Channel 4, always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Justin, how we doing, man?
Not too bad, Hack. Thanks for having me. A busy, a quiet but yet a busy time. The football calendar is turned to a new year, but we still got a lot of football news to talk about and cover. Plus Daytona 500 this week, so a lot of moving parts in our area and neck of the woods.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. You and I talked on air about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and at that point, Trent Baalke was still the GM. Liam Cohen had not said no thank you and then turned around 48 hours later and said yes thank you to the Jaguars. And Tony Baselli had not been hired as EVP of football operations. I mean, Justin, just from a mile-high view to start out, what a crazy couple of weeks it's been for the Jaguar organization.
Yeah, when you go back to January 6th, day after the regular season ended, and they get rid of Doug Peterson, we all thought it was long overdue for that, but also thought Trent Baalke would be in that sweep-up job, and it was not the case until the coaching search hit its full stride, and Liam Cohen said no thanks, and that made Jacksonville reassess the Trent Baalke situation, and lo and behold, he moved on. Jacksonville's got a new head coach in Liam Cohen, a new EVP in Tony Baselli, and still waiting on that GM, but you got to think it's going to happen here in the next week or two.
Justin, what was your reaction to the Liam Cohen hire?
I thought it was interesting for a guy to have really that much leverage when he's only been offered one job. And but I think it helps Shad Khan really kind of confront the situation of maybe I do need to look outside of my comfort zone and move on from Trent Baalke. And I think that more than anything is what the Liam Cohen situation helped Shad Khan do, and say, hey, maybe this situation is not going to be as interesting or appealing to coaches if I do not do that full reset. So I do think that was an interesting decision to come out of the Liam Cohen thing. Yes, he's young. Yes, he's got a young staff. Grant Udinski, the offensive coordinator, is a young guy as well, not even 30 years old. So a very young staff, but I still think it's positive. I think the upside Liam Cohen has shown with his work with Baker Mayfield. Yes, it's a little worrisome, the lack of experience, the lack of calling plays, but I really hoped he'd have added kind of the old head on the coaching staff. I know Ron Rivera interviewed here, but that's probably my only takeaway on what could have been done differently, is add a little bit more of veteran experience. I'm all for the youth movement, and let's see if he can figure it out.
Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, you've been around Northeast Florida forever like I have, and it's crazy to think about. You got to go back to Coughlin to find a young, innovative offensive mind, right? I mean, Jack Del Rio, young defensive mind. Same thing with Gus Bradley. Obviously, Gus did not work out to the extent JDR did. Doug Marrone, Doug Peterson, Urban Meyer, offensive guys, but certainly were not young by any stretch of the imagination. And now here Liam Cohen is 39 years old, getting his first opportunity to be a head coach. Again, you got to go back over a quarter century to find a situation like this as the Jaguars' top man.
Yeah, and Coughlin was more experienced when they hired him. He was done remarkable work at Boston College, and they brought him and gave him full autonomy and control of the franchise. So a little different setup here. And I think with being in the locker room and talking to the guys at the end of the season and after the Doug Peterson news, I mean, Andre Cisco said, I think a young guy would be a good hire for this position, because now you're talking about guys who maybe have some experience dealing with athletes now who are coming up in the NIL era. And Trevor Lawrence mentioned selfishly he wanted a young offensive-minded guy. So I do think Shad, even though it may have taken some time, eventually listened to those to the wants of those guys and thought going with that young offensive mind, which is really the first time in franchise history they went with this young of an offensive mind. But I think that was a big point that those players conveyed, that Trevor Lawrence conveyed, and certainly Shad and the brain trust with the Jaguars liked what he did in Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield, kind of a reclamation project, and they think great things are ahead for Trevor Lawrence and this team, which is still relatively young in itself.
We talk about Tony Baselli being the EVP of football operations. I've made this point. Look, Tony doesn't need to have this job. Obviously, there's a lot of things he could be doing. Tony wanted this job because he loves the organization. And, Justin, I think there is something to be said for that.
Absolutely. I mean, a guy, and we went over and talked to Tony just a couple hours after he had been given that job, and he made it very clear, hey, I'm not drafting players. I'm not calling plays. My job is to support the guys in this building, in the position that I'm in. And I think there is a lot to be said for a guy who came here in 95, the first ever pick of the franchise. He played, he put his heart and blood, sweat, and tears and his body on the line, and ultimately shoulder injuries derailed his career, but he's seen it from every vantage point that you can see. How will that make him a good EVP? Who knows? But I do think it gives Tony a leg up in the competition in terms of what another EVP may have given. And he's been a radio guy, he's been a TV guy. He's seen it from so many different vantage points. And he loves this franchise. He bleeds the teal and black. And I do not think that can be undersold. You know, you hear loyalty and things in sports nowadays, and there is no such loyalty. But I do think in Tony, there is a diehard loyalty. And I think Shad, over the years of getting to know Tony, I mean, Shad had Tony was long since retired when Shad came into the picture. So he didn't have that attachment to Tony that Tom Coughlin did, that Jack Del Rio did. So I do think it's a great position for Tony. He's going to support the franchise. He is going to speak up the franchise, do everything he can. I mean, this is his baby, and he's seen it grow up. And I know he, more than anybody, wants to see that franchise take the step and make that next step to the next level.
Couple more for Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, when you look at the staff that Liam Cohen put together, I want to ask you about Edgar Bennett in a moment, but let's focus on the coordinators. You know, you talk about a youth movement. Heath Farwell at 43 is the elder statesman of the coordinators. You mentioned Grant Udinski, the 29-year-old OC, Anthony Campanile, the 42-year-old defensive coordinator. A lot of intrigue. I like what I hear out of all of those guys. What was your thought on the coordinator hires as a whole?
Yeah, young again, and Campanile, I think it's exciting. I temper my excitement about a defensive coordinator after last year with Ryan Nielsen. Yeah. But I do like the movement, and I do like not going with the old retreads, which a lot of teams tend to do, and maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't. It worked out certainly with Dan Quinn in Washington this year, but I do think that there's something to be said for going with the new young coordinator, the new young guys. And Jamal St. Cyr, a colleague, and I always talk about, you get them before they become the Sean McVays. And I think there's something to be said that Shad and company saw a lot of the things they wanted in Liam Cohen, and Liam on the flip side said he saw a lot of things in Grant Udinski and Campanile. So I do think there's something to be said about getting those guys before they become breakout stars. And it's certainly that youth movement in Jacksonville. And, the coordinator role with Udinski, he's not going to call the plays. So I do think that absolves him a little bit of that. It's going to be Liam Cohen calling the plays. So we're not going to see a reincarnation of Press Taylor, at least not initially with Liam Cohen and Grant Udinski.
Cool story on the Cohen staff is Edgar Bennett coming home. Obviously, terrific high school career here. Went on to star at Florida State. Went on to star for the Green Bay Packers. He's been in coaching for a while. Now he comes back as the wide receiver coach. As a guy that's covered high school football in our area for a long time, there weren't a lot of guys in this area much better than Edgar Bennett.
He was before my time in covering this professionally, but I remember running out and grabbing the paper each day and running and reading the high school football recaps on Saturday morning in the paper. I was probably 10 years old at the time and loved it. And I went back and found some Edgar Bennett quotes today. Corky Rogers was his old high school football coach at Lee, and I pulled this from an old Times Union archive story. And Corky Rogers said, quote, Edgar was a guy that had good hands, but he had trouble early on in his high school catching the football for some reason. Edgar ought to be given credit for developing his all-around game through hard work. He had the size and the cutting ability to be a good running back, but his attitude is also what separated him from the others. He could make a fun time out of a dull practice. That sometimes goes a long way, end quote. I love that quote from Corky Rogers about Edgar because I do think he's maintained a lot of that and that tenacity in his coaching career. And it's so awesome to see a local high school guy, a guy who played here, grew up here. And it's just so cool to see that. He played with Leroy Butler on the old Lee teams and for Corky Rogers, and went on to a great career at Florida State and in the NFL. And I do love that quote from Corky many years ago, just about Edgar being able to make a dull practice fun and really using the ability. When he saw he didn't have that ability, he worked on it and made himself into an unbelievable player. And I think that's going to convey into that coaching career here in Jacksonville. I think he's going to make things fun for those receivers. And he got a great one of course, in BTJ.
Final moments, Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, the GM is like the last domino to fall. One would think that'll happen certainly in the next week with the combine approaching. What are your thoughts on the GM search? Certainly a lot of candidates' names have been thrown out there.
Doing their due diligence, and I think it's smart to wait and take time, and you want to get this hire right. You don't want to end up in another bulky situation where there's friction and you wonder who's really these guys are truly on the same page. So I think it's good that they've taken their time, and I think it's good that Liam and the GM are going to come in together, and you got Tony in there as kind of a conduit. So I am all for taking as much time as you need and getting this hire right, whomever that is, whether it be Ian Cunningham or somebody else. But I do think we're getting closer to that point, and excited to see where that new regime, what they take. I think there's an excitement around Jacksonville, a little bit of uncertainty too with being such a young staff and the unknowns, but really excited. I think there's a little electricity in the air around Everbank Stadium about this new regime.
Justin, as we wrap up, let's shift gears to the Friday Night Lights. Boy, you and I usually around this time of year are talking about all the new head coaches and new places. Man, lack of news. There just are not a lot of head coaching openings in Northeast Florida. Maybe only a handful. I know Clay High School opened up a week or two ago, but not a lot of news on the coaching carousel this offseason. Why do you think that is?
It's been a little light, and usually we're in 8, 9, 10, 11 coaching changes at this point, and it's been a very quiet offseason for whatever reason that is. I do still think we're going to see several more changes before we actually get to spring ball, and maybe even one or two after that. But it's been unusually light. Flagler Palm Coast parted ways. They're a little bit out of our region, but down I-95, they parted ways with their head coach Daniel Fish, and of course West Side and Randy Randall separated. But it's been a light off season for some of these big name programs. But I look for that pickup here in the next few weeks.
Yeah, hard to believe. High school spring football really just around the corner. They'll be on the field in about a month and a half or so. Justin Barney of Channel 4. Justin, I know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time, buddy. We'll do it again soon.
Take care, Ack. Thanks for having me.
Now the cool down with Donovan Air Electric and Plumbing, keeping Jack's cool since '87.
And thank you to Justin Barney of Channel 4 for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. As boy, we were very busy. A lot of Jaguar conversation here to close out the week. What a couple of weeks it has been. The GM search still ongoing. We certainly spent a lot of time on that, including with Justin Barney of Channel 4. And look, I mean, the coordinators met the media. We've already heard from Liam Cohen. The next thing is the GM. You would have to expect that gets done probably middle to end of next week at the very latest. And then all eyes are to Indianapolis and the NFL scouting combine, which is now less than 2 weeks away. Well, that will just about do it. It has been a very busy Friday night and a very busy week here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. We have a ton of people to thank. Again, Justin Barney of Channel 4. Always appreciate Justin stopping by. Thank you to Dan Puda of the 33rd team for stopping by as he does with us from time to time. Always enjoy talking ball with Dan. My buddy Cody Carpenter of Roster Watch, as we did a deep dive not only on Liam Cohen on the Jaguar roster and on the 2025 draft class, and back in hour number 1, JP Shadrick, my guy from Jaguars.com and Jaguars Radio. Always enjoy talking Jaguar football with JP and appreciate all those guys taking time out for us here this evening. Now, we are off on Monday. We will be back on Tuesday, and next week we are in for Baloo. So the next time you will hear Hacker After Dark will be next Tuesday beginning at 6 o'clock. Again, off Monday, and then the rest of the week we are in for Rick Ballou. So we will touch base with you again on Tuesday beginning at 6 o'clock. Dylan Denmark was your producer tonight. Dylan, great job as always. I'm the hacker Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending not only your Friday evening with us, but your entire week with us here on Hacker After Dark. As we always tell you, and we cannot possibly tell you enough, how much we absolutely appreciate it. So for all of us here on HAD, have an absolutely terrific remainder of your Friday evening and a fantastic weekend. And we will talk to you again Tuesday night right here on Hacker After Dark beginning at 6 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jacksonville.
Home of 2 naval air stations and